Hello recipe lovers. Recently I was lucky enough to be in San Francisco, and I went to a place there in North Beach in the little Italian district called Eat at Joe's, and they served me up the most amazing meatball dish I've ever had. So I've done some research and we're going to try and create it today. So now this meatball dish is basically two parts. Firstly we have to make the meatballs and brown those off, and then we actually also make the tomato sauce. Then we combine those two together, bake them in the oven, a little bit of parmesan and mozzarella on the top, and I think these things are going to be delicious. So let's just go through the ingredients we have today. Firstly I've got actually the mince I'm going to use is half pork and half beef, and I've got half a kilogram there, about a pound. What we're going to do is then mix that in with some about 200 grams of fresh ricotta. I've grated about half a cup here of beautiful parmesan. Obviously we want some herbs in there, so I've got some dried Italian herbs. I've got oregano and marjoram. I always find that both those two seem to go really well with meat dishes. I've got about half a cup here of basil that I'll chop up, and we're going to use some minced garlic in there as well. And then what we'll do is also we need a little bit of flour, about half a cup, just to dust the meatballs off so that we can brown those off just nicely. The second part of the dish, which we actually will do first, will be to make a tomato base. So we're going to use a chopped onion, grated carrot and celery, a very traditional sort of Italian-based start there. I'm going to use passata today. If you don't have passata, you can also use whole tinned tomatoes and tomato paste, and obviously a bit of seasoning, a bit of garlic in there as well, and maybe a cup of, if you've got a bit of red wine lying around, I think it always adds something really nice to the dish. So we're going to get into it. This is going to be, hopefully, the best Italian meatballs ever. Okay, first thing we're going to do is actually make the tomato sauce. The reason we make the tomato sauce first is it can just simmer and richen up while we're preparing the second part, which is obviously the meatballs themselves. So I've got this on a fairly high heat, so I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil in here. And what I'm going to do is now firstly throw in the onions. I'm going to saute those off. So we can go to the onions. You can hear them sizzling away. This will just need a couple of minutes on the onions until they start to sort of go translucent. We obviously don't want to burn them. Okay, they're browning up really nicely, so now we're just going to add 2 teaspoons. You can use fresh garlic. Like I've got this minced stuff out of the jar, which I think is, can be really good as well. So we'll throw that in there now. I've got 2 little teaspoons, but feel free to do that to taste. Have an aroma coming out now. Okay, now I'm going to put the celery in. And you'll see I've chopped about 2 big stalks of celery here, which is about a cup of celery. So it's basically a cup of onions, a cup of celery. And I've chopped it quite fine. We want that to reduce down as much as possible. And lastly, I've got about a cup of grated carrot. Again, we want this, we've got it grated because we really want to let it really reduce down. I'm just going to turn the heat down now a little bit, down to just a medium heat. So now we've got our passata. You can see our jar here. As I said before, you can actually use a combination of tinned tomatoes and tomato paste, tomato concentrate, but this passata seems to be a great consistency for this sort of tomato-based dish. So I've got the whole jar here. This is about 600 mils, I think, 700 grams. So you can see that going in there now. Beautiful. And we're also going to add in our finely chopped basil as well. Okay, we're going to stir this through and reduce this to a low heat. And of course, don't forget this secret ingredient. Well, maybe not that secret, but I love a bit of red wine in here. You don't have to worry, the alcohol cooks straight out of it. But I think if we put about, let's say, one cup of red wine in there, I think it just changes the colour of the dish too. It makes it really nice and dark. I love it. So we'll check back in about 15 minutes, and I think you'll see a beautiful start to a nice tomato-based sauce. Okay, the sauce is simmering away there. It's got a nice low heat. I'm just going to season this, so just a bit of pepper. I love pepper, so I'm going to get right now a bit of pepper and just a little bit of salt. Just a little bit of salt. So now we're going to leave that on a low heat for probably about half an hour, maybe longer. It won't hurt it on a low heat. It'll just thicken up. If it gets too dry, add a little bit of water. But we are going to prepare the meatballs. Okay, our beautiful tomato sauce is simmering in the background, so now we're going to make our meatballs. So in a large mixing bowl, we're going to firstly put in the mixture of pork and beef mince. You could use all beef mince if you wanted to, but I think this combination of pork and beef is fairly famous and the Italians love it, so there we go. That's in there. We're going to add our dried herbs, our oregano and marjoram. In they go. We've got about a cup, not quite a cup of beautiful Parmesan cheese. That can go in there. I love the Parmesan, it's so salty, it's just beautiful. And here we go, about 200 grams of ricotta. Just, it's quite crumbly, so just crumble this in your hands as you put it in. Now let's get our hands in here today. We're gonna mix this up, this beautiful mixture. So do this until you get quite a good consistency. You can see you've got to break all that ricotta up, get those herbs in there. Okay, so with wet hands, we're gonna, that's a nice sized meatball. I've seen them as big as baseballs, but that's probably a fair bit bigger than a golf ball. We're going to also dust these in flour, so that means when we fry them off, they'll just have a nice coating and actually retain their moisture. Okay, you can see our beautiful tomato-based sauce there, just simmering away. What we're going to do now is brown off our meatballs. So what we're going to do is I've got a nice hot pan there, a little bit of olive oil, and then we can just do these 2 or 3 at a time. When they're done, we just place them into the bowl next to us there. Okay folks, it's time now to assemble a dish. Now we've browned these meatballs off. We haven't cooked them all the way through, but don't worry, they will cook through when they're in the oven. I've just preheating the oven to 180 degrees. So look, they're quite big meatballs, so let's just do 2 each. I've got these beautiful ceramic bowls here which I can put into the oven, no problems there. So I've got 2 meatballs. Now we need a scoop of our tomato, or probably a few scoops of our tomato-based sauce. Get that right in there. Probably 2 good scoops like this would be lovely. Okay, I can smell the herbs actually coming out of the sauce. It's beautiful. That's the fresh basil in there. Okay, 2 scoops, that looks about right. And then we're going to put these in the oven for about 20 minutes. And I'm just going to top this off. I've got a mixture here of Parmesan and also mozzarella cheese. You could use bocconcini, baby mozzarella if you wanted as well. Throw that on there. You really want that to sort of melt into the sauce. And I think just to finish off, maybe we'll do just a little bit of cracked pepper. And then these are ready to go in the oven. I think they look absolutely beautiful. Let's see how we go. Okay, so this has been in the oven now for about 20 minutes. Let's pull it out and see how it tastes. Okay, it's going to be pretty hot, I think. But let's have a taste of this. It all looks cooked very well through. It's lovely. I hope you enjoy it. The best I could do anyway. Italian meatballs.